All right. Do you know what pisses me off about real estate agents? And this is going to get contentious for a moment. So bear with me. I got a good story for you. So hang in there. I'll get to it. But before I jump into that story, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. It helps my algorithm, helps it boost it out to people that may be interested in this kind of content, where we talk about real estate, the Phoenix market. And specifically this morning, I'm ranting about other real estate agents. Now, before any other real estate agent who watches this channel blows me up and starts complaining, just understand that I love my counterparts out there. I have a lot of wonderful agents that we work with. But this episode is dedicated to stupid ass agents. Okay. And I'm sorry if it sounds a little rough, but guess what? You've earned the title. And I know that there's going to be other agents out there that listen to this and thoroughly agree with me. But again, hit like and subscribe. Helps my algorithm. I love it. Appreciate the support. Please send me comments if you've got thoughts to share about the content that I'm making here. I would love to hear more about it. Ask me questions. Throw me some topics you want me to rant about. But this morning is about dumbass agents that do stupid things to blow up deals. All right, so here's the story. We closed a transaction a few months ago, and obviously there will be no names because I'm respectful like that, and I run a very respectful business, and we work with a lot of phenomenal agents out there, and I am deeply grateful for them and happy to do deals with those agents any day, all day long. We are here to help our clients get across the goal line on both sides. Our goal is to help mediate deals to make sure that everybody's happy and that somebody's able to sell their property and another person's able to buy their property, and the experience is wonderful on both sides. Now, if you're that agent on the other side that makes me want to reach through this camera and choke the living daylights out of you, maybe it's time to go back to real estate school, or perhaps maybe it's just time to retire. So this story, a few months ago, we list a property on the market, and we listed it at what we felt like it was a very appropriate price for the neighborhood. We made it, it had all the right features. We listed it as the obvious choice, given the respective peer group of properties that were available around the mountain. And as we suspected, we had a very strong performance right out of the gate on open houses. And we had over 60 groups come through that weekend, which was phenomenal. Performance in the Phoenix market. There are pockets of areas that are doing great, and there are other pockets that are lagging behind. That's another subject for another day. Clients come through the open house. They love the house. It's very clear. It's the whole family. They love it. It's an older set of parents and the younger kids, the younger adult kids with them. And they love the house. They're talking about it with us. They're going over all the sort of features and benefits and et cetera, and they leave. They're really excited. You can tell they're super excited. Obviously, we've asked the appropriate questions of, are you working with an agent, blah, blah, blah. They said that they would have their agent get back to us later on in the afternoon. Their agent was not present during the showing. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are my buyer, I'm out showing properties with you. If I'm personally not showing properties with you, I guarantee you that one of my high quality agents on our team is out with you and making sure that you are taken care of. I don't let clients just wander around on a weekend and go shop for homes without representation. I mean, that's just bad business. Long story short, Sunday afternoon rolls around. We get an offer. I get an email from an agent who I've never heard of before. It happens. There's a lot of agents out there. And the first thing I do when I typically get an offer from an agent is I go look up that agent and I go look at their stats. Well, this agent has performed four deals in the past 12 months. Now, I don't know about you, but I can tell you that 4 deals does not make a well-rounded, exercised business mind in real estate. Just like when you go to work Monday through Friday, you're probably an expert in your field because you do it Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, and you do it through repetition. And so you are mentally in rhythm with what your job requires and what you need to do. And because you're so in rhythm with your job, you're probably pretty good at it, and you probably can can identify things that perhaps somebody else wouldn't normally identify. Well, that's sort of how I look at agents when they come across the table to us, and I look them up and they've done, less than a handful of transactions. I go, what have you been doing for the other 8 months of the year, right? Like, that's only 4 transactions. That does not make a well-rounded agent, in my opinion. Some would argue it's a tough year. There's some agents out there right now that are probably pretty darn good and are struggling because 2026 has been a challenging market. Back to the story. The agent sends me an email, sends me the offer. I look him up and I get a call from him. And, I'm obviously super polite. We are here to work with everybody and make deals go through. And agent's very nice on the phone, represents himself as somebody that's been in the business for roughly 30 years and says this is going to be a VA transaction. He's like, they're pretty tricky. So, just wanted you to know it's a VA. Have you ever done any VA transactions before? Okay. Obviously, you didn't look me up, so you have no idea what kind of volume I do. Yes, we've done VA transactions before. Yes, we're well versed in them. Thank you for pointing that out. We appreciate that, et cetera, et cetera. Move on. He proceeds to tell me that, he's been in the business for 30 years and he's done over 5,500 transactions in his career. First major red flag. Okay, look, I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry for those of you that are watching this video. I'm going to tell you right now, if you've done 5,500 transactions over the course of 30 years in your business and you're still a real estate agent, sorry. You need to retire. You should have retired. That means you've done 184 transactions per year in the past 30 years, right? To me, 184 transactions, this guy should be a multimillionaire at this point. He should be long retired, shouldn't be an agent. Why am I looking at an agent that's got 4 transactions? So I have a little judgment going on. I have a little concern and so forth about just, his position and asserting himself and his seniority, so to speak. Whatever, I don't care. Let's roll with it. Transactions moving along. We get to a place where the buyer's inspection has been performed. We have negotiated the repairs or lack of repairs on the buyer's inspection notice that was sent to us. To make a long story short, I won't get into the details of the entire transaction, but we agreed to provide a credit in lieu of repairs for a certain piece of the Binzer report that gave them a credit back of $1,200. The buyers happily accepted that, and we moved on. And now, fast forward to a week later, the appraisal comes up, and the contract as it had been written was written for well over asking price, which of course my seller was super thrilled to accept. But one of the components of it that I warned my seller was that, listen, they wrote it over because they wanted some concessions to apply back towards their funds to close. I understand that. We've seen that plenty of times. But in this market that's been declining for the past 4 years systematically, we're seeing less and less of those types of deals get across the goal line when written well over asking price. We had already priced that home to what I thought was the best that neighborhood could possibly get on an appraisal. And we're very good at what we do. I know what's going to pass and I know what's probably not going to pass. Well, sure enough, the appraiser came. I met the appraiser, represented my position, said, do your job. If you have any extra questions, let me know, et cetera, et cetera. It's not our job to get in the middle of the appraiser's job. That's their job. But I'm just telling the appraiser kind of what we saw and what we were thinking. My position was that contract price might be a little bit tough to achieve, but we felt the listing price was appropriate. And the reason why I stated it like that, need to understand, is that I knew that our listing price was solid. I thought the contract price was a little out of line, and I knew it was going to get flagged. And sure enough, it got flagged. The benefit, on the flip side, though, the appraiser came back at listing value, which was great. Well, it was $5,000 below listing, but I'll call that listing value. Plus or minus $5,000 in today's market. I think any worthwhile agent would argue that's just fine. We can deal with that. So the appraisal comes back $5,000 short of the list price. I went back to the buyer's agent and I said, hey, listen, obviously the appraisal has come up short of contract. we are happy to let my client, my seller, has agreed to allow the property to be sold at the 5,000 less list to you guys. However, the concessions that you had written into the deal, we're going to have to remove. No problem. Everybody signs off. Everybody understands. The house was absolutely beautiful. It sits up on the mountain at Lookout Mountain. It made sense. Everybody knew it. That's not the details of the story. Where it gets tricky is that I said, I'm going to write an addendum that changes the price now to the new price of the house, the appraised price that we've agreed upon, and that the concessions are going to be removed. Now, whoa. This agent flips out and has damn near a heart attack. He's like, you can't do that. It's a VA loan. You can't write the addendum for my client, et cetera, et cetera. Look, I'm sorry. I can write the addendum. It doesn't matter. But I'm not here to fight with this agent. I don't give a shit, to be quite honest. You want to write the addendum, knock your socks off. It doesn't matter. As long as it gets signed, that's the only thing that matters. Anybody wants to argue with that, go talk to your broker, go talk to the ADRE. It doesn't matter who writes the addendum, as long as the addendum gets written. But this guy had almost a coronary over being able to write the addendum. So I said, fine, write the addendum. I don't care. Send it our way. So he writes the addendum. New purchase price to be 700 and, blah, 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 right? Right below it, it says, buyer to provide $1,200 credit. Buyer to provide $1,200 credit, right? Same credit we had written in the previous addendum. Now, I let it fly because I already know that the way that it was written in the addendum that the buyer's agent sent us, that it was still $1,200. Our credit was going to be $1,200. The credit's $1,200. The credit's $1,200. It's not the credit is now $2,400. It's the credit was $1,200. It wasn't in addition to, it was just buyer to credit seller $1,200. Fine, same thing. We let it slide. Now we're getting 3 days. We're 3 days to close, and we get the settlement statement. I review the settlement statement prior to speaking to my seller. Obviously, the buyer's agent, this gentleman, gets the settlement statement as well too. I look down the settlement statement. It has all of the appropriate fees, et cetera, and there's the credit for $1,200. Yep, perfect, check, no problem. I review it. My TC reviews it. We're all in agreement. Sounds good. We send it to my seller. My seller reviews it. She's great. Yada yada. I get a phone call. I think it was Friday night at almost 9 o'clock at night from our escrow officer, whom, by the way, having a killer escrow team and killer title company behind you makes all the difference in the world as well. I'm very, very attached to my title company. They have never dropped a ball in the many years I've been doing business with them. My escrow officer, I've been loyal to her for many years. She is absolutely phenomenal. And this is why. She calls me up and says, hey, we've got a problem. Oh, gee whiz. What's the problem, Sarah? And she says to me, hey, the buyer's agents on the other side having a conniption about the fact that there's not two credits for $1,200 and $1,200. And she goes, are you reading this the way that I'm reading this? Because I'm reading that there's only one credit. Yes, Sarah, you are correct. Great catch. Thanks for calling me. I agree with you. This is just two credits. That's not in addition to. Addendum 1 and Addendum 2 do not add up together to a combined total. If you're going to submit a second addendum, the second addendum, if it's going to override the first addendum and be the new controlling document, there has to be change verbiage in Addendum 2 in order for that to be legit, or for it to be contractual, right? And so that verbiage isn't in there. I knew it wasn't in there. That's why I was never worried about it. But now the agent's having a coronary on the other side because he's going, this is the way the documents are written. They're going to stand. I reached out to the agent and said, what are you thinking? Why? Right? Like, we're 3 days before close. And like, we are here to get deals done. We're not here to try to blow deals up. But this agent, and the other red flag that was going on in the back of my mind was, I don't think the buyers have any clue that this is actually even occurring. Now, it's not my place to jump in and try to connect with the buyers and see if they have instructed their agent to act in this manner. But the agent basically said, we're holding the deal up and we're not signing unless you adjust the credit. And how dare your escrow officer act as a third-party arbitrator, which is exactly what title and escrow is designed to do. They're designed to read the documents, interpret the language that the real estate agents have put forth in the documents, and then write it all up, contractually put it in a settlement statement, and have all the numbers broken down as per the instructions of the agents. They read the documents the same way I read the documents. I rely on them to proofread these documents just in case, because I'm human, and every once in a blue moon, I make a mistake too. But when I make a mistake, I raise my hand and say, hey, we made a mistake. We're going to fix that. And we're going to fix it right now, because that's accountability. And that's what I'm looking for in other agents out there, is to be accountable. Okay. Be honest, be accountable, be transparent, communicate with your clients, and don't set them up for failure. Sorry for my foul language, but it kind of ticks me off when this kind of stuff happens, because you had a really nice couple whom I met, and I was almost certain this agent was not communicating with their client, letting them know what he was trying to do. What I figured out was that this agent was trying to sneak in another credit based on the sly action of putting it into a second addendum, the duplicate $1,200 credit, and trying to pull an extra win out so that he could go back to his clients and go, oh, look at me. I'm so awesome. I got you an extra $1,200 back. Whoop-de-doo, dude. Like, if you need acknowledgement that much, man, it sounds like you need therapy more than you need your clients. Anyway, so I bring it to my broker immediately, because I'm not messing around. Like, this is just like, okay, I don't have time for this. Call up my broker. Broker answers immediately, because that's part of being part of our brokerage, is that we have brokers that actually answer their phones instead of having to dial a call center and wait for somebody to respond and wait for the next broker who has no idea what's going on in your transaction, because they are, they're processing God knows how many other transactions and not really paying attention. My broker agreed with me. I said, listen, there's no sense in me calling this agent up and dealing with this. I said, because my agent, this is his position. He's been in the business for 30 years. He's done 5,500 transactions, supposedly. Apparently he's, God's greatest gift to the real estate world as far as he's concerned. And this is the shit that he's trying to pull at 3 days before closing, which could have very well blown up a transaction. Broker gets on the phone with him. To make a long story short, they get it all sorted out. Without him admitting wrongdoing, he just basically said, yeah, no problem. We can move this forward. I'll just eliminate and rewrite the verb, rewrite that addendum, and remove that credit on there, right? So it was very clear to my broker. It was very clear to the escrow officer. It was very clear to my TC. It was very clear to me, my wife, and I actually told this story to my seller after we closed. There was no sense of getting her stressed out in the process, but I told her the story later on. But everybody looked at this agent and was like, dude, what you did was unnecessary. It wasn't needed. And all you ended up doing was making yourself look like an ass to a lot of really important people, that are well-to-do in the industry. Like my escrow officer, she deals with, 20 plus agents on a monthly basis. And a lot of us agents are serious top producers in the Phoenix Metro Valley. So we know what we're doing and we talk to each other, right? So now this agent has become, unfortunately, kind of, in neon lights, he's highlighted himself as the jackass who tried to slip in a $1,200 credit. And I'm like, why $1,200? Like, I get it if it was like, I don't know, maybe it was like a 10 grand misunderstanding or something like that, but $1,200, really? Like, you tried to sabotage a transaction? And so that's my point. I see shit like this more often than I wish I did. Inexperienced agents thinking they know more than they do and getting in front of their skis and almost sabotaging a transaction because they put their own personality before their clients. So the moral of the story here is, do your due diligence as a buyer and a seller and interview your agents. Ask what their close ratio is. You know what mine is? It's darn near 100%. When I get my clients into contract, we close. Barring a major structural or material matter issue with the property that makes it uninhabitable or something that's so expensive where the seller and the buyer cannot come to an agreement, and it's usually the seller's fault at that point. I hate to say it, but if it's a material matter of that sizable nature, it's generally going to be on the seller to have to absorb that, right? And we can argue that on another conversation. But nevertheless, interview your agents. Make sure you're picking the right people for to represent yourself. Like I always say in the real estate world, every time I get a client that comes and says, would you drop your compensation rate for us? I'm like, I know it's a negotiable rate, and I really have penciled out what it takes to keep my lights on and pay all the people underneath me and run my team the way that I want to run my team to provide the highest level of service to our clients. I don't typically discount my fees, much like when you go to get a surgery done let's say you got to go get a spinal surgery done, right? It's not like you're going to be interviewing your surgeon going, hey, can you discount your surgery rates for me? Or if you're in a financial pickle, and you need some good financial advice, it's not like you're going to go to your financial advisor and be like, hey, can you discount your fee for me? Because I want the best financial advice, but I want it at, target prices. Sorry. Okay. Same thing with our real estate fees. It's like, you want high quality service. You're gonna pay for good representation. You need an attorney to get you out of a serious pickle that you've gotten yourself into. I'm pretty sure you're gonna go spend the highest amount of money you can for the best attorney possible for you, right? You're not gonna go buy discount attorneys. They're out there. Discount agents are out there, and I don't know what this guy charged. Well, actually, I do know what he charged. He shouldn't have been behaving that way. But anyway, as a buyer or a seller out there, interview your agents. Have a good extended conversation with them. Talk to them about the business that they've done. Call their clients. Ask for referrals. I'll give you 20 clients right now that would attest to how awesome we do business, and they would take a random phone call and be like, "Oh yeah, we loved working with them." That's the kind of experience that I want. And if I can't get that type of satisfaction out of a client, then we need to go back to the drawing board and assess how we're doing our business. Because if I can't get 5-star Google reviews, then what am I doing, right? My job, my goal here is to help people and make them super happy. Okay, agents like that do shit like that give everybody else a bad name. If that buyer had found out what that agent probably did, and I met the buyers actually at the property afterwards because I had to go take the sign down, and they happened to be out front doing some gardening. It was like, a couple, they just moved in right away, and I literally picked up the sign. But I met with them and I chatted with them for about a half hour, and it was crystal clear to me that the agent was an old friend of theirs that was married to one of the family members. And I can't tell you how many of those deals we've done where it's a family's agent friend who hangs on to a license because it's possibly helpful. They're the worst. Sorry. You're just not experienced. You don't do this. You're not mentally exercising that muscle on a weekly, daily, monthly basis. Like when you're doing a few homes every single month, trust me, we're well versed at what we're doing because we're constantly moving the shelves. Anyway, that's it for me. That's it for my rant this morning. Do yourself a favor, interview your agents, make sure you're picking the right people. If you've got some questions for me, I'm happy to have a chat with you. It doesn't cost you a penny to DM me, shoot the shit with me. If you got questions, call me up. We'll have a conversation. It doesn't cost a penny. Heck, I might even take you out to lunch or coffee just because I like hearing your stories, But hey, Steven Ensign, I'm the owner of the S&J Real Estate Team. My wife is not with me right now. She's pretty pregnant right now and not feeling so hot with the Arizona heat this summer. So she's just kind of chilling and doing her thing. All right. Have a great day. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps me get this out to more people that are interested in real estate topics like this. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.